Hey, what's up everybody? It's Kupo. Today I want to talk to you guys about melee combat. So people just starting out the game probably have a pretty hard time with the melee combat because it is hard. Like there's no way around it. The combat and melee in this game is very hard and unforgiving until a little bit later in the game when we get a better weapon and some armor and all that. So for testing purposes, I'm going to be using the Rusty Axe, 22 damage, and I have 1 point in melee, the melee damage perk. So it's probably more like 24 damage. But basically, you can get this at the very start of the game. It's not a big deal. So everybody should be about this level of damage when they start the game. Hey, look, a Raptor. Okay, so let me just go over the basics. We got our weapon out. We have a combo system for melee attacks. So when I swing, there's a little bar on the bottom left, as you see. It'll fill up. So if you combo your attacks and time them properly, the bar will fill up. So let's go ahead and do it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you can push Q for special attack. So once the bar gets over the center bar, you can use a special attack by pushing Q, which does bonus damage. Another thing to note is as the bar fills, it does increase your damage. So this swing does a little damage, more, even more, and even more. So you don't always have to be greedy and push the Q button to get that special attack in. You could just do a regular attack and still get a good amount of damage. Yeah, and as long as you have stamina, you can attack. So if you run out of stamina, you can't attack anymore. Another huge thing to note that you guys will notice is if I run around on the top left, the green bar is my stamina. When I start to run out of stamina, I can let go of the run button, and it fills very quickly. Very, very quickly. So as you guys are fighting your monsters, you can chase them down and let go of the run, and your stamina will fill very quickly, and you will be able to get attacks in on the mob as if you had full stamina. So it is a little bit of a timing thing, but just know that you can run around and maneuver around monsters, and you can increase your stamina very quickly by just letting go of your run button and then begin attacking. So that being said, I'm going to show you guys all the monsters at the start of the game up to the, I think it's called the pack leader. That Raptor over there is a pack leader. So you're going to see all the gimmicks of each mob, how to deal with them, and we'll be killing all these mobs with just this rusty hatchet. So my format for this video is I'm going to be introducing each mob, their gimmicks, and then I'll show you some clips of me dealing with the mobs with this little rusty hatchet. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started and let's kill some monsters. Alright guys, so here we have a mob called a pack leader, and this is a Raptor mob. There's another mob called a Raptor, and this one is the upgraded version of him, and it's called a pack leader. So same thing as a Raptor, just a little bit stronger. So this Raptor has a few gimmicks that you can do to defeat him. The first gimmick is he'll growl. So once you see him growl, he's actually locked into his growl, and he can't move, he can't attack, he can't do anything. So you can use that against him if you know he's gonna growl. How does a growl trigger? Well, it's simple. If you're within a certain vicinity of him, he'll start growling at you. So to take advantage of that mechanic, you have to figure out how far away it takes for him to growl. And then once he growls, you want to be in range to attack him. So that's his first gimmick, is that. His second gimmick is when he's locked onto you and he's going to try to run at you and attack you, his attack goes straight where you're standing. So if you hold the shift key and run and literally just sidestep like this. Is he aggro onto me? Anyway, if you just sidestep like this, he will miss. And then you run up behind him and hit him. And then he has a third gimmick that I just found out. So after you run up and get a good combo off on him, you're going to have to regen your stamina. So the best way to regen your stamina while fighting a Raptor is to just fly up into the air. Fly up into the air. And while you're in the air, the Raptor will run in a direction, and you have to identify the direction. So let's say he's running towards me. Well, I'm going to fly up in the air, and then I'm going to go away from where he's running. I'm going to land, and I'm going to attack him. So, yeah. It might seem like a lot, but it really isn't. So, let's go ahead and show you some footage of what it looks like when you're fighting a pack leader and how to defeat it with just a little rusty axe. So, hope you enjoy that. So, we got another Raptor here, so let's practice what we've learned. Attack while he's growling for a free attack, sidestep when he's targeting us. You can also use the jetpack like that too. And then chase him down. Don't let him get away. Look at that. Pretty easy that time. Alright, here we have a mob called a critter. This is probably the lowest tier mob you'll find in the game. Very easy to deal with. So this mob, once you get into a certain vicinity, it will just stop and growl, and you can attack it while it's growling. It's that simple. So even if you bait it and it charges at you, it's gonna stop in front of you, and it's gonna growl. Very simple. So not much to this mob. I'll show you some footage of me dealing with this mob, and this one's a pretty easy one. So we're just gonna run up to him, let him growl, and then start attacking. See, he's growling. Now we just start attacking. Alright, here we have a mob called a Spine Hound. And for most new players, this is going to be probably one of the hardest mobs to deal with early on into the game. So this mob actually has a very simple gimmick. As soon as it identifies that you're around, it'll circle and face you. And once its face reaches the center of your body, it will charge you. It does have to be within a certain range for it to actually charge you, otherwise it'll just growl. But it's got a pretty long range, and generally speaking, if its face is looking at you, it's charging at you. So another thing to note is once it charges and attacks, it generally doesn't like to attack again. Sometimes it'll attack a second time, but generally you just have to dodge that one attack. So how we deal with this is very simple. You can either run up from behind and attack it before it charges you, or you can get it to charge you and bait it and just sprint run to the side. Or you could roll to the side. It's up to you. But I'll show you how we deal with this mob in a couple of clips here. So yeah, let's get to doing that. So the idea is to run up to him and then just sidestep, and they run off into nowhere land, and then you kill him. So look, he wants me. Let's sidestep here. Just move to the side. Side here, side there. There he goes, and then we'll get him. Alright, and then I'm just gonna fly in there, give a little stamina back. Sidestep again. Alright, let's get back on him. I'm gonna fly up in there a little bit, get some energy. Okay, now I can move to the side. He's gonna charge me as soon as he centers his face on me. Alright, and then we'll get right up on him. Like that. Okay, so I'm gonna fly in the air, get a little stamina. Looks like he's really focused on me. So I'm gonna have to double roll to the side. Get some stamina by flying. Drop double roll. And then back on him. Alright, here we have a mob called a biter. And this is a pretty simple mob to fight. Even if it hits you, it does a very small amount of damage. But it does attack very quickly, so if you're standing too close to it while you're chaining attacks, it will hit you in between your attacks. So the gimmick for this mob is once it sees you, it'll look at you, and it might run up to you. And once it runs up to you, it'll actually stop and stomp its right foot onto the ground. If you watch it, you'll see its right foot stomp, and it's telling you that it's about to charge. This mob will charge in a straight line after it stomps its foot, and then it will proceed to attack 1, 2, 3 times. So the trick to this is very simple. You bait the charge. Once it stomps its foot, you make sure you step to the side and circle around behind the mob. And then, like I said before, once you circle around behind the mob, you don't want to stand too close to it before you start your attacks. If you stand too close to it when you start your attacks, it will get some attacks in on you and do some damage to you, which isn't that big of a deal. But if you want a clean, perfect kill, make sure that your distance is pretty well away while you're doing your attacks. As a general rule, you never want to do melee attacks from right on top of the monster. You want to stand the max distance of the melee damage. So that being said, let's show you some clips of how we deal with the biter, and let's get to that. Alright guys, and that is going to conclude my beginner's combat tutorial for melee weapons. And hopefully you guys learned something. Hopefully you found that helpful. If you just practice a little bit, you guys can get this down. So like always, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.